Recently, Inside Press Box went down to the Mack Lewis Gym for the ceremony to rename Eager Street to Mack Lewis Way, and we captured some of the impact Mr. Mack Lewis, had on this community.
So I want to point out to you very quickly that if you look at all these four corners here, that each of the other corners say Eager. This doesn't say Eager Street. We're going to show you why it doesn't say Eager Street.
It just fills me up to see that this has happened to my brother.
Mr. Mack was my trainer for 5 years, in 1955 through 1962. And that was on the corner of Broadway and Eager Street now, what's now called Mr. Mack's Way. Being in Mr. Mack's gym was like a family away from home at another home. And that's the way that he was our father, he was our mentor, he was our counselor. You know, we could go to him because some of us, we did not have fathers in our homes, you know. But one thing that Mr. Mack stressed with us was the fact that you had to be in condition. You know? Mr. Mack used to always say that if you did not sleep it, if you did not eat it, or you did not drink it, then you don't need to mess with it. Because if not, you're only fooling yourself or you're only fooling your team.
We need more gyms in the city. We need more Mr. Macks in the world so that we can save our children. It's not only black children, white children, everybody needs to be saved in this world because we really going through a lot.
Mr. Mack was my trainer for 5 years. I started boxing for Mr. Mack in 1955 through 1962. You know, we used to walk those long steps into the gym, you know, to work out, you know. And going up those steps was a workout within itself. And then when Mr. Mack used to come in around 5 o'clock, we used to be there at the gym, anywhere from 5 to maybe, 7 o'clock. And when Mr. Mack came in there, we already had a workout because we walked up the steps, you know. But Mr. Mack was a wonderful person. To me, he's still a wonderful person because of what he taught me as far as my athletic ability, as far as boxing is concerned, which also helped me with wrestling because at the time I was going to school at Carver Vocational Technical High School, and I was wrestling, boxing, and running cross country at the same time. But one thing that Mr. Mack stressed with us was the fact that you had to be in condition. And when I say condition, I mean tip-top condition. You know, you had to go out and do your road work. And another thing that stayed with me with all my sports activities was the fact that Mr. Mack used to always say that if you did not sleep it, if you did not eat it, or you did not drink it, then you don't need to mess with it. Because if not, you're only fooling yourself or you're only fooling your team. In the gym, we were a team, we were a family. Being in Mr. Mack's gym was like a family away from home at another home. And that's the way that he was our father, he was our mentor, he was our counselor. We could go to him because some of us, we did not have fathers in our homes. Me and being raised by a single parent mother, who helped and put emphasis on education. Mr. Mack reinforced that. He did not take notes. He did not take no stuff. He did not play, and he always wanted us to be a champ, or our dream was to be a champ. Because of what Mr. Mack taught us. Again, what he taught me as an individual helped me so much that in 1962, when I graduated out of high school, I had a professional contract to be signed, but I had such a great desire to wrestle and box for the United States Navy. And with that dream and hope, I went into the United States Navy, but because of what Mr. Mack taught me, helped me through the United States Navy. I started wrestling for the United States Navy in 1963 to 1965. And in 1963, I wrestled for Commander Joe Henson. And wrestling under Commander Henson, we had there was a disappointing time in 1964 when Captain Henson got promoted to captain. From commander to captain, had orders to go to the Pentagon. What Captain Henson taught me and Mr. Mack and the rest of my coaches at Carver High School helped me to become coach of the United States Navy wrestling team. The Captain Henson saw enough in me, my skills and my ability to write to my commanding officer to request that I become the Navy's wrestling coach at Quonset Point, Rhode Island. And during that period of time in 1963 to 65, wrestling up in Boston, wrestling Boston College, Harvard, New York Athletic Club. And man, I'm telling you, those guys were good guys. I mean, when you talk about competition as far as wrestling is concerned, it was good. But I would not have been able to achieve what I achieved if it wasn't for the fact that where I got my beginning at Mack Lewis's gym in Baltimore, Maryland. So in 1964, actually wrestling and boxing at the same time, wrestling at Quonset Point, Rhode Island, I meant to say wrestling and coaching at the same time, I had the opportunity to won a championship, which was the New England State Championship. I want you to listen to this now. The New England State Championship, which that New England is 6 states. So that made me a 6-state champion, New England State champion, as well as a Navy champion. So I was able to fulfill my dream to wrestle and box for the United States Navy. So again, my hat's, I don't have my hat on, but my hat is off to Mr. Mack Lewis, for helping me. And so many of us, are, from East Baltimore, So I want to thank Pressbox for giving me this opportunity to tell my story. And this is what we need to do. We need to tell our stories to young men, young boys, young girls, tell our story, and we need to reach back and try to bring and help someone else. And that's what Mr. Mack wanted out of all of us, is just to reach back and do the best that we can. And with all that he taught me again, in 2002, I was able to be inducted into my school's Hall of Fame. That's Carver Vocational Technical High School for community service and my military service. So again, thank you, Mr. Mack. I love you. Never will forget you. Hey, look, I'm going to do the best I can to do whatever I can. Thank you, Pressbox. Hey, look, Pressbox all the way.